Hello. Hi, everyone. Just checking if my audio and video is visible. Professor Varsha, Shriya, are you there? Professor C.D. Mitra, are you there? Would love to
Yeah,
say
hi.
hi.
Any?
Yes, hi.
Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
you're visible. You're visible.
Perfect,
Everything's
perfect.
visible.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And welcome to season 2, episode 5 of Karo Sambhav's webinar series. And this one is titled Uncovering the Invisible E-Waste. Now, before we get into the details of this topic, I just want all of us to take a pause and think. We have this one planet, 8.1 billion people, and trillions of aspirations. Today, the convenience that I think all of us have, all of us are enjoying, most of the population in the world are enjoying, was something that even the royal families of the ancient times, the queens and the kings of the ancient times, could not even imagine having that kind of a convenience, right? So that is where I think it's time for us to just rethink on the way we are consuming the resources today. It is so extractive in its nature that it is putting extreme pressure on the planet's limited amount of resources that's there. So just can we just take a pause and look around us on the kind of equipments that we are connected to? The earphones which you're probably listening to the session in, the charging cords that are connected to your laptops or your phones. Probably there is a fire alarm in the room that you're sitting. And also back at home, if you have kids, there is a big, huge market of electronic equipments and toys for which don't really categorize. No one really looks at it as an electronic device in the first place. So these are the kind of equipments that usually skip we for this, and that is exactly what we are terming to as invisible. And and in order to cater to this kind of a problem this year, on the occasion of International E-Waste Month, we have we have taken it as a responsibility to invite not only the consumers, not only the businesses, but everyone across the world to recognize the hidden risk of overlooking the recyclability of such small equipments. And it's time that we take action. So Karo Sambhav, in collaboration with WEEE Forum, it's an organization, it's a think tank based out of Belgium. We, together with P Forum, are inviting all the actors in this value chain to come together, collaborate, address these problems, not in silos, but together, and find a way to work upon a solution and act upon it so that circular responsible recycling becomes a possibility that is solvable in this time and not sometime in the future. So on that note, I'd like to express my gratitude to all the sponsors of this event. Thank you, Apple, Dell, these discussions. And now I'd like to invite a very special person, Professor Varsha Ganguly. She has been part of Karo Sambhav's journey during the initial days, during the inception days. Dr. Varsha is a development sociologist, professor at Institute of Law, Nirma University. She has also authored the book E-Waste Management, Challenges and Opportunities in India. So, Dr. Varsha, over to you. And just would love for you to switch on your camera and you can share your screen as well. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, thank you. I think I'm visible, right? And audible as well. Okay. Are you? Give me a minute.
Screen,
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen now.
Yeah.
I think I'm visible and audible. Are you able to see my screen now?
Not yet, ma'am. Can you?
Okay.
No, ma'am, you're not. Yeah.
So I'm neither visible nor my screen.
Not yet. No.
Okay. Let me just try once. Otherwise, I can just start speaking. Sorry.
Ma'am, switch off your
It
camera
was
once and restart it again. So many a times it works. Yeah.
all right.
Oh, it seems, I think it's visible for some people. Okay.
Is it visible now? I've shared. Is
The
it
screen is
visible?
not visible, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay.
It's visible. No,
It's
not
not visible.
Here.
All right.
Ma'am,
It
let
helps
me
me to.
try sharing my screen. I'll do
Uh,
that. Yeah, 1 second. I'll
yeah,
just share
sure.
my screen. You can just switch
Sure.
off your
Otherwise,
camera
I
and
can
switch on
just
again. Yeah.
start. Yeah. Otherwise, I can start speaking.
Yes, ma'am. You can just switch on your video and start. Yeah.
I've already switched on my video, and I hope I'm visible as well as audible. Am
Yes,
I
ma'am.
audible?
You're audible. Please. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, ma'am. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Karo Sambhav and the ecosystem, WEEE and other sponsors and the participants. It's a very esteemed panelist that I am sharing this dais with, and so I'm happy to share the dais and looking forward to their presentation as well. Uh, I'm going to speak as a keynote speaker on uncovering the invisible e-waste in India. And based on my work experience and the academic work that I have done, I'm going to share a couple of ideas. And so if you just look at the first slide, the parlance of e-waste management in India is largely around sustainable development, circular economy, and EPR, that is extended producer responsibility. Everything revolves around that. And we then talk about informal sector, because the presence of informal sector is 90%, more than 90% plus in terms of e-waste collection and recycling. Then it comes to resource efficiency, and therefore the nodal agency is very important. So Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, along with the nodal agency CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, and the state pollution control boards along with that. And so entire focus has been on collection, recycling, and probably hazardous part of e-waste. Uh, my first and foremost argument is that if we just restrict ourselves to this parlance, it will remain invisible, because the kind of macro, micro, and meso label that we really need to look into. Can we have the second slide, please? And we need to understand e-waste, because it is not there in everybody's mind. It still remains invisible. And I, being a very structural analyst, I realize that we really need to think about different stakeholders, and also the institutional mechanism that we talk about. So if we really look in these three boxes, one is product, another is state and market, and third is consumer and end user. And uh, if we really look at these boxes are not talking to each other. They are working in silos, and therefore, even if they speak out, their voice is not going to be as loud, which is able to make the invisible e-waste a visible one. Because when we talk about product, the main stakeholders like producers, repairers, refurbishers, and recyclers are at the center, where somewhere the EPR is highlighted, but not the concerns of a consumer on the end user. And therefore, waste disposal just doesn't become an issue of importance. And when we talk about state and market, where we focus on legal framework and regulation and business and economy, we are meeting the dead end with largely with informal economy, informal sector dominating e-waste collection and recycling and resource efficiency is very, very low. And so therefore we try to jump to a very international parlance called circular economy and increasing resource efficiency and so on, and trying to connect it with the economy of secondary material that we are able to sort of gather from the recycled e-waste. And but we need to take cognizance that these three boxes are working in silos, and until they remain working in silos, the kind of interactions and the dialogue that is taking place, which can sort of make things visible, especially e-waste. Next slide, please. So we all know that, you know, APR is one of the major parla and also a framework, that is extended producer responsibility framework, which is also looked at as a concept, strategy, legal tool, policy instrument, path to business opportunities, and also a path to healthy and safe environment. But we also need to take cognizance of that there are influencing factors in implementing EPR, such as environment policy, operation management guidelines, industrial ecology, conflicting need and perspective of stakeholders, and prevalent conditions and socio-cultural aspects. Now, again, also APR is a multicentric in nature. You know, the interlinkages and intralinkages of different aspects of it, for example, institutionalization, product flow, financial flow, system management, and stakeholder perspective and roles are somewhere they are not in forefront, or they are not able to sort of, those intralinkages and interlinkages are not coming to the fore in that sense. And next slide, please. And so therefore, what we sort of face, what I want to bring to your notice is that even though EPR at a conceptual level is a very, very effective tool and policy intervention strategy, we still remain with the parlance of circular economy, producer, resource efficiency, and nodal agencies and regulations and so on. So that brings me to clarify. Next slide, please. To clarify that, you know, our thinking is a very top-heavy structure. It's in a very top-heavy manner that we think. And entire e-waste regime in India is being driven by legislation and regulation. And therefore, the focus is largely on recycling, and then comes, I mean, in the context of circular economy and resource efficiency. So when we talk about this top-heavy structure, it is basically that institutional mechanism which is of a great concern, because right now everything revolves around state pollution control boards, central pollution control board, and the recyclers. But where is the other mechanism which involves different stakeholders, and therefore creating a wave of stakeholders is a great challenge. Our largely policy decision making is largely driven by data, and data flow is also again in a very top heavy manner. So it's mainly producing data on the number of registered recyclers and the extent of recycling that we are able to manage in India. And therefore, we are rarely able to talk about the secondary materials market. And especially, we all know that at least 50% is composed of metals and 50% from glass and plastic. And industrial plastic can be recovered from e-waste. And therefore, this is the top heavy structure, the characteristic of top heavy structure, which sort of, make accessibility of e-waste to certain level of people and regime, and not sort of making it visible to all Indian citizens who are consumers and users of electronic and electrical product. Next slide, please. And therefore, that this brings me to micro level people, and which I consider this micro level as a bottom up approach. So we definitely have a top heavy approach and top down approach. So therefore, let us try and see the world from the kind of bottom up approach, and let's keep the consumers and end users at a center, at our focus, and it reveals, that usually how do consumers look at any electrical and electronics product they use, and until it is functional. If it doesn't, they will try once or try twice to repair it. Once it becomes obsolete, they either store it or throw away, or they and if and something like mobile phone or some oven or some fridge or washing machine, like, which is a high valued electronic item, they would sort of expect some kind of remuneration from that, some reward, some economic reward from that particular item. So the question arises that how do we make them aware about a conceptual term like circular economy, a very conceptual term like extended producer responsibility and polluters pay principle. How do we make them aware of hazardous nature of e-waste? Who will motivate them, and how can we be able to motivate them to
Varsha ma'am, we are not able to hear you.
Okay, now?
Yes, audible.
Okay, when did I, uh, from this slide onwards?
Yes. No, we can start from here, ma'am.
Okay. And so therefore, so waste collectors and waste aggregators at micro level are another very important stakeholders, because when we were working, and when in the entire discourse on e-waste management is dominated with informal recycling, informal way of collection, and the economy. We realize that we are not really able to reach out to waste collectors, sensitize them, and say, look, there is an economy, but this economy can be a better one, more responsible and more formal. If we really sort of able to sensitize them on the safety part of it, health part of it, environment part of it, and resource efficiency part of it. But we are not able to communicate to them, we are not able to convince them, and we are not able to, therefore, not able to sort of reverse the process, existing process. And that makes the e-waste more and more invisible because it is not coming to the formal economy. And that is a concern I think we really need to address well. Next slide, please. So and now this brings me to a meso level, because when macro level and micro level are not talking to each other very effectively, or there is a very little dialogue which is taking place, and not many effective interventions that have been thought of or implemented, this brings me to meso level. And as I said, that I, being a very structuralist in a way, I always find that whatever that any development that comes through is through institutional mechanism. So there, on one hand, there is legislation and regulation and so on, and there is another at micro level, people are working for their livelihood and using all the items, especially e-waste, to sort of make their economy go. But then when I was asking a question, who will sensitize them, who will make them aware, who will reach out to them, and who will change their mindset, who will bring the behavioral change, these challenges can be met with this institutional mechanism. Right now, it is a very thin institutional mechanism, because in 2018 draft we involved PROs, but then in 2023 draft rules, e-waste rules, PRO is now not as visible as the earlier previous rules. And civil society organizations, very few civil society organizations, mainly the community-based organization or non-government organizations, are really involved in e-waste collection or recycling or any part of e-waste management. Most efforts that we see now is through recyclers, but recyclers are also now struggling because again, the invisible part of e-waste, unless they reach out to consumers and they reach out to waste collectors and aggregators effectively, they will have to continue to search e-waste in a more rigorous manner, and identifying more and more sources for identifying e-waste and making it visible. And similarly, we are thinking very less about industrial association, educational institutions, and some such institutions, which has a large part to play, large role to play, because not only they are the bulk consumer users, they are covered in the bulk consumer category, but the existing way of e-waste disposal through waste collectors and aggregators is still being continuing. So that is a challenge. Please stay on the same slide. I am talking about meso level. And so therefore, I think we need to, and we also need to think about residential complexes, where we are able to adhere to the individual consumers of electrical and electronics items. So soon I'll be now, next slide please. And now, so what I'm trying to do is, this is a picture, this is a kind of status that we have talked about. And now what I'm sort of sharing is that these are the ways I feel that the invisible e-waste can be made more visible. These are based on my work experiences. See, I have seen a lot of changes taking place in last 3 years, where state pollution control boards are taking a lot of initiatives, and not just on one go on that is registration of recyclers, but they are trying out a lot of new methods for reaching out to people, collection initiatives, They're launching schemes for various stakeholders and incentivize them to sort of dispose e-waste in a responsible manner. So I think one is of course the role of CPCB and SPCB. They are doing very well, but they are still able to, they have a lot to do rather to talk to the meso level players. They are able to sort of still talking to the macro level players and actors. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is this. We have in Nidan, which is a community-based organization located in Bihar, and there we formed a women's cooperative, and women's cooperative could collect about a ton of e-waste in first 6 months of the intervention. And what they found is a very smart strategy, that they realized that the large population migrate from Bihar and goes. That population is available in the other state, but when they sort of come back, and then the mobile phones, and they carry back some electronics item which are not very useful to the other state people with some wealth, but when they come back to Bihar, they are able to carry like feature phones, simple phones, and some electronic items and so on, and then soon they become obsolete or non-functional, and therefore they started collecting e-waste. Now, some such micro level strategies, I mean micro level scenario, we need to develop this kind of micro level understanding of the scenario, existing scenario, and then develop those strategy. And similarly with Swachh in Pune, and Sushant is one of the person, Sushant Rodrigues. He did a fantastic job in Goa state. He, as just an individual, collected more than like 700-800 kilos of e-waste over say 6 to 8 months of period. And so these are like possibilities. You just talk to different micro level actors. In Gujarat, what I have observed is that recyclers are putting a lot of efforts, collection from the home, door to door, and then they are also tying up with CSOs, entertainment clubs, industrial associations, and educational institutions. But this institution's mindset, behavioral change, etc., is still sort of more efforts, more energy is required to sort of mobilize them. Next slide, please. And last 2 points that I will just share is that fostering formal informal partnership. GIZ has documented their experiences, and they have shared a very positive outcomes of fostering formal informal partnership, and also like controlling the informal players, recycling methods, and then increasing the resource efficiency, at the same time making them more responsible stakeholders in the overall e-waste management cycle. And there are 2 more things that I would like to share, which is not there in the existing slide, but it is research-based report by Toxic Links, which is another research organization. And they have conducted a research on producers' role in awareness raising, in such formal sectors functioning, and the economy. So some such reports, research reports, need to be sort of should be available in the public domain, and they should be able to play their own role talking to various stakeholders, and especially the micro level actors and players. And the last one is like emerging jurisprudence revealed glitches of litigation legality and judicial concerns. So, although there are just 8 to 10 cases that have taken place, but like property, like LGBT issue, we should be able to sort of highlight such environment justice related issues in the public domain more through media, mass media and social media. And I think these are the ways, through dialogue, through initiative, through incentives, that we are able to make the invisible e-waste more and more visible. Thank you for the opportunity to the organizers and the panelists and the participants who had a chance to sort of had a good, I mean, become a good audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Varsha. I think if I can summarize from all the experience that you shared, one thing definitely is noteworthy that with the newer amendments that have come in the EPR regulations, somewhere the focus on enhancing collection systems has lost along the way. And I really loved how beautifully you collated all the upstream and the downstream challenges, and showing how the collaborations can happen not just on the recyclers and the producers part, but also involving CSOs, the academic institutions, the residentials, even the individual consumers. And lastly, I even loved the point about the public-private partnership that you brought in. I think all of these and more such collaborations can actually happen if only all the actors come together and try and figure out how do we really solve this challenge. So thank you so much for taking out time. And to all the listeners out there, I would just request you to park your questions in the Q&A section or the chat, whichever is convenient. And Professor Varsha and the would just probably push the Q&A to the end. If you can wait, it would be helpful. Otherwise, we will definitely direct the questions if they come along your way. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. And I would be little off and on because of my ongoing duties, but I will definitely be
Yes.
sort of joining by 4:15 again. Yeah, sure.
Okay, that sounds good. Much. So on that note, I would now proceed to the next phase of conversation, and that is the panel discussion. We have really group of speakers, and I think Professor Varsha has actually captured some viewpoints already. We have a good balance between regulatory speakers, academic speakers, as well as the producers. So I'd like to invite Shri Anil Joshi, Member Secretary, Himachal Pradesh Pollution Control Board. Um, then we have Shri Wanshan Kharkhrang, Senior Environmental Engineer, State Pollution Control Board. We have Ms. Shriya Vyas, Corporate Communications, Nothing. And then we have Professor Chandradeep Mitra, founder and CEO, PipalMajik, and visiting faculty at IIM Calcutta. I confirm, can all of you all please switch on your cameras? I think it's not visible. Professor, we can see you. Shriya, you're not visible. Mr. Anil, you're not visible. Yes, Shriya, I can see you now. Mr. Anil, could you just switch off and switch on your camera? It'll be helpful.
Yeah, it's. I think I'm. Yeah. Just, yeah. I'm visible, sort of. I'm audible. I'm visible. Can you please get back?
Audible for sure. You're not visible for some reason. Maybe just switch off again and try. Sorry for the technical glitches. This always happens on a webinar.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, am I visible now? Not sure.
No.
But I can. I think maybe some technical glitch sort of somewhere.
Let me just check if with my team. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Just other panelists, are you able to see me? Just if you can confirm. No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Then I need to get back to the system. I think I can just see everyone all around, but maybe I think some technical
yes,
glitch
if you
from my
can.
side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
we can just wait for 1 minute then. Just one.
Okay. I think just you go and I'll just let me get back to this. Maybe I think for certain reasons it's not getting reflected.
No problem, no problem.
You could
Okay,
just
okay.
carry on with some other speakers also. In the meantime, I'll just look into it. Yeah.
So we can begin. So I think my first question I'd like to dive is Shriya. So, Shriya, as a communications manager at Nothing, just for all our speakers, for all our audience also, the electronics brand, I think you bring in a very unique perspective within the electronics industry. But we would be happy to know, how does Nothing view its role in addressing the often seen environmental consequences of e-waste? And what steps is the company taking to ensure that the products and messaging align with this whole gamut of responsible e-waste without compromising on innovation and consumer appeal? So over to you.
Thank you for your question. Sustainability has always been at the center of our conversations at Nothing, and we're very dedicated to replacing the traditional, take, make, and dispose linear economic model by transitioning to, renewable and recycled materials as much as possible. Our goal has been to extract zero resources from the planet and also generate zero waste. So Nothing's products are, you know, developed in close collaboration with within our community, and it includes over 8,000 private investors, and they're crafted with sustainability at its forefront. So we started very strong with our first product, year one, focusing on carbon offsetting, and we became one of the first consumer tech brands to create a carbon neutral earbud product. But a very significant step forward was taken with our second product when we turned our attention to materials. For phone one, we built a 100% recycled aluminum frame, and we manufactured this with 100% renewable energy. And then coming on to phone two, we sort of extended our focus on recycled materials, renewable energy, as well as plastic-free packaging, making it one of the most sustainable smartphones in the market. And then again, through innovative technology, renewable energy applications, transparent data disclosure, and very high quality, carbon removal projects. We're very committed to advancing sustainability while delivering the best tech to our consumers.
Thank you. Thank you, Shri. And thank you for highlighting all the initiatives that have been taken up. That brings a nice segue to my next question to Professor C.D. Mitra. So you've had the experience of coaching a lot of brands and also strategies. So how do you envision the role of this responsible e-waste management in building a sustainable brand image for the businesses, and what strategies can organizations employ to leverage this opportunity effectively?
Thanks, Sreepriya. So while I'll not claim to be an expert, and I really come in more from the marketing perspective, see, there are three interesting perspectives that have happened in the world of marketing, I think, in the last 15, 20 years. One is marketing used to be fairly narrowly focused on the short-term, customer acquisition role. Increasingly, marketing is looking at customer retention, which means giving customers reason to come back to buy again and again. Because in most categories, we see that there is a high degree of penetration, and new customers. If you look at even mobile phones, 30 years back, most Indians didn't have a mobile phone. Today, almost everybody has one and several mobile phones. So the name of the game has shifted from customer acquisition to customer retention. And therefore, there are two or three things that happen. One is, how do you give reasons for customers to keep coming back to you again and again? Two is, it's not only the product differentiation, which is functional features that differentiates one company or one brand from the other. But the emotional, the ethical, the environmental factors, which are the added layer that helps differentiate one brand over the other, right? And sometimes, and we see that across categories. I mean, most of us as normal consumers probably won't be able to tell too much of a difference between one TV brand versus another, one air conditioner brand versus another. And whatever functional claim one company makes, another company would probably be able to catch up within weeks or months, right? So how do you create that edge, that difference, which is sustainable? One of the ways you can do that is by a strong ethical or an environmental kind of, consistent move forward, where you engage with consumers and you give them an added reason why, all things being more or less equal, why this particular company and brand is a more socially and environmentally responsible company, and therefore buying their products makes me feel good because in a way I feel that I'm doing my duty when I buy their brand and supporting them because they are doing their bit. So by buying their products, I'm also supporting their ethical, social, environmental kind of responsibility, and I'm being part of that. So that's one part. So it's the short term versus the long term. The second is the ethical and environmental layer that is getting added over and above just the functional features of the price and the cost benefit. And the third thing, of course, is there's a whole pressure coming in from government, be it EPR, be it all of that, which is pushing. So some companies are reactive and responsive and just about doing enough to do the compliance. Some are making claims, and we hear of terms like greenwashing. Maybe they're doing a bit, but they're making claims. But again, it's a needle which is constantly shifting. Now, one can argue that do consumers care enough? And the simple answer is not everyone does. Let's be honest. But is it changing? Yes. There is enough data and evidence which shows that parts of the developed world, maybe more, European countries, Scandinavian countries, their consumers are much more environmentally conscious, number one. Number two, more educated people who also have more disposable income seem to be caring more. They also have a much larger environmental footprint, and therefore they're painfully conscious. And I think that includes people like us. We are painfully aware and conscious that, we have a larger environmental or carbon footprint, and we want to do the best we can to minimize it. And it's also more younger people who are becoming more conscious because they have more at stake. Because if you're 20, 25 years old, you keep hearing about pollution, environmental issues, climate change, and you know that you have another 50, 70 years left in the world and it's going to affect you, and it's already affecting you. But if I'm already 70 years old, I too set in my ways of thinking and doing, and I think I'm just going to live for another 10, 15 years. How does it matter? How do I care, right? So younger people care more, educated people care more, and people who have a larger carbon footprint care more, right? Now, all of this is therefore putting pressure on brands to also up their game in saying that we help you, do the right thing. We do the right thing, and when you buy our products, we help you do the right thing. Now, I think when we talk of EPR, and specifically the topic for today is the silent waste, I think it should be a very large part of the EPR. And since I'd mentioned that, I'm just going to make one point and I'm going to hand it over back to you. There are a couple of other things we can discuss later, is the design of things being increasingly modular. Now, one of the things that European Union has done is that, traditionally, every time we buy a mobile phone, we buy a charger. Now, and this is something I've questioned for the longest time, the last 10, 15 years. If all chargers are compatible with all phones, then why do we need to buy it? I mean, even if I need to upgrade my phone, why do I need to buy a new charger, right? And if I didn't have to buy a charger, it either, the cost benefit, apart from the material saving, can either accrue to the producer or to the consumer and can be shared by both, right? So now the European Union has made made it a law, and there has to be compatibility. Now, with those kind of things coming in, increasingly, and even with a charger, very often the charger and the wire are connected. Now, increasingly, you see that they can be disconnected. So I can just buy the wire, I can just buy the charger. So the moment you componentize it, if I may use the term, then I don't need to buy all of it every time. moment I buy a phone, I don't need to buy a charger. Along with the charger, I don't need to buy a cable. All of these only as and when I need it. Now, this is where companies and brands can become much more responsible, number one. Number two, they can also incentivize consumers, which is to say that if I bought brand X and I return the charger, or I return the cable of that brand, I return the earplugs, I get points and I can use that to redeem against my next purchase or whatever, which also helps the whole customer retention game, which is what marketing increasingly has become. So I think these are combination of opportunities. And I think apart from consumer education, which I think companies can do a lot more than what they're doing. They are, but I think they can do a lot more. So I think it's a combination of all things. But the principle of EPR really says that, expecting recyclers, expecting consumers, all that is okay. Expecting government, all that is okay. Housing societies, all that is okay. But finally, if you make the product which is much easier to, disassemble, much easier to, exchange, much easier to, incentivize that you return the earlier stuff and you get incentivized, which will help you buy the next stuff. I think these are things that I see some companies doing, and a lot more honestly can be done and should be done. I'm going to stop here, hand it over back to you, hopefully more later.
Thank you. I really agree with you on the part of modular design. And you spoke my mind. I always had this query of why do I need to buy the charger every time I get a new phone, right? Why can't it just be, why can't I use the earlier one? So on the point of design, Shriya, I actually come back to you. How does it integrate this environmentally conscious design and materials into its products? If a little more about it. And also if you can share, how does the brand contribute, like how does all of these activities, the environmental initiatives that you've taken, you're a fairly compared to the brands, nothing is a new revolutionary brand in the market. So how has these environmentally conscious decisions on your design impacted the brand's reputation, and has it led to some customer loyalty? If on that, yeah. Shriya, you're not visible. If you would like to switch on your camera again, it would be.
I have actually a couple of times. Am I visible now?
Not to me. Is
Can anyone else view
is
me?
it?
No, I can't.
You're audible for sure. You can
All
see.
right, just 1 second. Okay, so
Be
I
a
can see
Microsoft Teams
myself.
error. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I know you all can't see me.
Yeah. Please.
Unless you want me
That's
to
okay.
drop off and come back in. I'll just go ahead with the
No, I think
answer.
you can continue, Shriya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we at Nothing sort of believe in taking nothing from Earth, while making our products and leaving nothing behind when they are replaced. So a testament to this belief would be our flagship product, which is Phone 2. And we've made very deep investments in designing Phone 2 to be one of the most sustainable smartphones in the market. And to this, Phone 2 boasts a carbon footprint of 53.45 kg, representing about 8.6% reduction compared to our first smartphone, which was Phone 1. And we've also, the packaging for Phone 2 is actually plastic free, with about 60% of the included paper coming in from recycled sources. And also the final assembly plant and the recycled aluminum production plants for Phone 2, they're all powered by 100% renewable energy. So basically ensuring zero landfill waste is produced during the final assembly process. Then again, all that said, like for a very young consumer brand like us, innovation remains a top priority, and we combine advanced technology with eco-friendly practices to show that sustainability and consumer appeal can sort of go hand in hand, leading to a very greener and more tech-savvy future. So yes.
Thank you. And I really hope you get, like, it's a wish that you keep coming up with more such designs where you take nothing from the earth's new resources, and probably nothing is left behind. So all the best to Nothing for that. Now, I would like to move on to a question from the regulatory perspective. Anilji, thank you so much for making time for coming here. Last year in October, Himachal Pradesh was fairly quite active in carrying out massive awareness campaigns in the state and also collection drives along electronic waste. But considering the whole geographical nature of Himachal Pradesh, definitely there are a lot of challenges when it comes to carrying out these activities efficiently. So we would love to hear from you. What are the challenges that Himachal faces, and how has Pollution Control Board taken initiatives to solve those challenges? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, am I visible now, sort of?
Yes.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Yeah, in Himachal, I think the real move I think we took up last week, sort of, when there was a celebration of the e-waste, International E-Waste Day. We could even touch all sort of stakeholders all around. We have many things in our mind. Even that point of time, we were quite aware of the units which are responsible for formal processing and recycling of the waste. We have 2 units in Himachal, and that again located in Baddi area, Baddi Nalagarh area. They were dealing with all e-waste processing of it. But I think the challenge which I could make out while visiting these units also, because I noticed that these units, against their carrying capacity, whatever the capacity they were having, they were simply dealing with 5% of that in terms of the processing of things. So it means that the challenge was certainly in our mind that how we can ensure that informal collections all around the people, these pickers, they are preferring sending the waste even out of the state, rather than they're preferring putting it to the register recycler. That was a big challenge for us. And with all such picture in mind, in the backdrop, we were knowing it that e-waste certainly putting it, leaving it in hands of all these raw pickers and all around. I think we are losing environment a lot, because maybe we have noticed even instances of burning of the wires just for the purpose of collections of metal out of it. And even the people are resorting to using of chemicals also, just for a quick recovery of the things. That were all raw hands, sort of, we could notice all around. But I think that was a big challenge, that how we could really take it up, putting it across even all different stakeholders. And that probably, I think that was certainly in mind. They'll start from the people who are really generating it. It's an individual sort of, these are the institutions also, these are government setups also. And the second is that these are recyclers also. I think how we can truly facilitate them in taking up things to their capacities, and simultaneously having the challenges all around these. I can kabadi walas, these people. They are just doing their business clandestinely all around. They were all challenges was having in mind. So we had a very detailed interaction with all different stakeholders. Accordingly, we took off this, and thankful to this one Shivalik solid waste management unit that's dealing with recycling of e-waste, and they came forward just to facilitate this all drive, and we could pick up different government institutions all around. Prior to that, we addressed to all, telling them the importance of getting things recycled in formal way, sort of. And this is what we started. We could even go to all different part of the state through our regional offices, and we accordingly we designated certain collection centers all around. And I think it was with a good sort of awareness input, whatever we could give through media, through direct interactions with them, through VCs, to all these institutions all around. We found that it was reasonably good to really to reach to each and everybody, and just to make people aware of it. Even I could find that even individuals also, they were just, as per the feedback, they were finding it quite interesting from their point of view, that how e-waste is now the definition of e-waste is putting across to the people all around, and the harmful impacts of it in case we are supposed to leave it to all raw hands. So this was the challenge, and somehow we could gather good sort of stock, e-waste stock, and mm, now I think again this is what I'm seeing, that the challenge I could find it as involving ULPs also into the mainstream. So already on papers, I think frankly speaking, these recyclers, they're having some agreement with the ULPs also, that you'll come up with your e-waste and just hand it over to them. But I think slightly that sort of enthusiasm, that sort of push was not all around. But I think with thanks to this e-waste international day and in celebration of it, that we could reach to each and everybody all around. And now I think we know that the common institutions also well aware of it. We made it very clear to them that whatever they're going to auction, I think it has to be through some registered recyclers also. Earlier, I think because of some other official formalities, I think they look forward to have the quotation system working on that, and whatever they find it giving the best prices, they're just selling it to them. And now they can really understand it. This is not the point of the money; it's the point of how we're going to put it to the right place also. So now we have two right places in Himachal. Again, I would certainly say that it's very swirling data all around, that in one of the recycling unit, I think we found that only 50% is being gathered from the Himachal and the rest from out of the state. And the second one, even 5 to 10% from the Himachal and the rest from out of the state. So I think when we talk about out of the state, I think they will certainly looking for some other regions to grab things, because they are ultimately to run their system also. So our point of concern is that we need to really put across whatever the directions, what the guidelines required to pass on to them, and just to facilitate them in collections of all such things. We are looking forward to have, I think, a good drive in continuity all around states, and even the industries also. We have certain guidelines we have already set across, that how they should come up with their quarterly return, monthly returns also, and how they should be made responsible for ensuring that whatever things they are generating, they're as a consumer, as a producers, they are just giving. They have to ensure it is recycled. So thanks to EPR, I think it's also quite eye-opening for them also. I think 2 days back I was in Delhi attending that EPR workshop over there. So it was quite interesting also. These industries, very frankly, they could come up that really now they could understand what is EPR is all about, how to generate that credits, and how they could really come up with the best sort of mechanism that would help in setting up of the centers within the states. Even they would come forward. While interacting with them, I could make out that these recyclers, they are coming forward just to have a general interaction with the industries all around, and in a collective manner, we are looking forward to have well-established centers so that things are collected and accordingly passed on to them. It was quite interesting experiences for us, and looking forward to have it in continuity, and looking forward to have these recycler units to work to their capacities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anilji. I think you in detail you shared those challenges, and I'm pretty sure a lot of states who are facing similar challenges to yours will resonate with those aspects. I think I would like to now proceed to Mr. Wanshan, because the state of Meghalaya in itself has its own unique challenges with the scarcity of not producers. I think there would be some retailers of electronics and zero waste recyclers. And this whole new EPR regulation, the amendments that have come in, it's really interesting to hear how have they been managing the implementation of the regulations on the ground, and what are the challenges that have come along your way. If you could just shed some light on that, Mr. Vanshan, over to you.
Yeah, very good afternoon. Sorry, due to technical issues, I had difficulty in connecting. But nonetheless, I'm privileged to be part of this program, and thanks to Karo Sambhav for handpicking me every time when there's such kind of programs are there. Uh, the challenges, I will not say that they have changed or been of any difference, because in smaller states, especially in Meghalaya, and I can speak for the smaller states where we really do not have any manufacturers, we are in fact just recipients of residual whatever that is there. So that is why our dependence on a PRO is very much essential. So if you look at the EPR aspect, I do not see much of benefit from our side, because in the end it's a PRO actually who's being um, doing the job on behalf of the manufacturers. Okay, so but then nonetheless, we have debated from the first time the e-waste management rules came into the picture that the manufacturers must not look at this as kind of since someone else is doing their job, so I mean the responsibility is over. Their concept of appointing a PRO, 4-5 manufacturers engaging a PRO, and then they simply do not they do not have that sense of ownership, because a PRO basically is just providing a solution to the e-waste that is already there in the market. But then if they look at part of the system where they integrate the PRO with part of the system, then I see there will be more success, and then there will be more incentives, more benefits for the consumers in giving back the electronic items which have actually expired the lifespan. Because if you go by what is happening in the market right now, especially when we discuss with people, they're not aware that a particular electronic item has got a lifespan of 5-10 years. As long as it's still working, they'll say, "Chalta hai, okay, let's use it." And this is something which the manufacturers need to actually be more robust in the publicity, that since you bought this particular item, its lifespan is only this much, and then make sure that the incentive that they give for giving for returning that item that is past its lifespan, it is quite attractive. Because I know, I mean, I'm not from marketing background. You will find that before a festival like Puja, before Christmas, then you start having a lot of these buyback melas, and you bring back your old fridge, you bring back your old TV, we're going to give a brand new one, and all that kind of thing. So, but then people are looking at just upgrading the systems, but not actually looking from the contribution towards sustainable e-waste management from an individual aspect. So that is, I mean, I can confidently say that is what actually we are feeling the pinch in the smaller states. It doesn't boil to actually producer's responsibility. It goes down basically from his business aspect.
Yeah. You done, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I actually relate to that point, and in fact, I wanted to ask a follow-up question on that part. Um, from the northeastern states, it has been noticed that whatever the electronic waste that has been collected, because of the lack of recyclers in areas, majority of those waste end up traveling a long distance. And when we talk about waste management, logistics plays an important role. And a lot of these wastes are currently going to states like Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Delhi. So I really want to understand from you if SPCBs have figured out a way of how do we collaborate? Are there any local partners like mentioning earlier,
Sreepriya.
collaborations with civil society? Yes, sir.
Sreepriya, I mean, in the Central Pollution Control Board, even in ministry also, they are not very happy with me when I raised this issue. I said, whichever PRO that you are assigning for smaller states, make sure that you increase the the contribution from the manufacturers a substantial amount, because the logistic aspect comes into the picture. Now, if an X amount of money is being paid to a PRO who handles the e-waste in Bengal, okay, it's fine, because why your logistics expenditure is not to that extent, because you have your rail, you have your connectivity is very good. But when you look at smaller states where you usually have to use motorable thing, you must be X plus something. So at least a PRO also will, because in the end, a PRO also will have to look from a business concept. No? You're not doing voluntary work. So this I have addressed that. But then from the pollution control board point of view, I mean, we have not actually formally taken up this issue, because because it involves the money. Now, if the pollution control board is going to say, okay, we're going to give a subsidy for logistics to a certain extent, I'll have to be able to justify whether the rules allow or not. Under what rule? Under what financial, because the e-waste management and the PR concept is basically the link between the manufacturers and the PRO. And since the PRO is being paid to do the job, why is the pollution control board have to pay extra? And for me to answer that to the audit will be a problem. So this actually has to be addressed nationally. It should be in the form of a policy that for a PRO who's handling smaller states, where they are very much aware of the logistics issue, so whatever amount that has been fixed, it should be X plus.
I'm so glad that you have been taking these conversations up to the Central Pollution Control Board, and we really hope to see a difference, because there was another point which I would love to hear from both you as Mr. Anil. A lot of our ground teams have been telling about this with the whole change of regulations. Collection systems have lost somewhere in the conversation on the right? The regulations don't really emphasize on collection, but then collection is important. So when entities down in the grassroots to do the collections, people just randomly ask, okay, certified for what? So those are the kind of questions that come in. Can you show the certificate? I really want to understand from both of you, like, how do you address these challenges, and how do you validate a particular organization who has been supporting the state in actually clearing out a lot of from the grassroots? So, Mr. Anil, Mr. Wanshan, I would really love for you to focus on that aspect and probably provide us a solution on that.
When it comes to what we do in our state, basically we do get, since my number is easily accessible to a lot of these government organizations, they just do a cross-checking whether this particular organization has been registered with you or not. And I pass on that message also. So whenever there's a tendering for e-waste, or when there's a e-waste that needs to be, taken care of in any of these bulk consumers. So yes, we do inform the various departments that who are the people who are authorized to actually handle this. Because in the end, they have to file the returns to the State Pollution Control Board, the bulk consumers. But unfortunately, the single users, there is no monitoring system for them. If you see in the rules, there's no monitoring system. So that is still a gray area. But then again, coming back to what I had initially shared with you, until and unless the producers themselves, the manufacturers themselves, they come up with a kind of a integrated approach that is within the system itself. When a person returns his old TV, which has lifespan is over, he gets a better incentive. So because in smaller states, we find that these distributors, they take this old TVs, they refurbish it and they resell back in the market. But then does that actually solve the problem of your e-waste management?
I would really love to hear even what Mr. Anil has to say on that. Mr. Anil, feel free to add to Mr. Wanshan here.
Joe, what I could make out is the challenge is really informal sort of collectors and the formal collectors. And when you talk about any recycling unit, the inflow is from both channels also. I've just already given you the insight of what is happening all around. I think maximum 5% of what are the things they're getting it from the formal sectors, and that's really a point of concern, that how to address to this informal one. And it's very interesting that when you talk about these kabadi walas and all that. So what they do is really they're getting maximum things out of it. They're getting maximum money out of it by way of collection, handing over to someone sitting at certain location within the country itself. They prefer it giving to them also, because they are resorting very crude method of collecting things. When you talk about collection of the wire, they're using very crude method like burning it. When they're collecting something metals and all that, they're using crude metal like putting chemicals onto that. So I think that needs to be addressed too. And I personally think that as a policy, we need to have these people, dedicated, registered people, and only the hit is to the individuals also and the shopkeepers also, telling them, please just hand it over to these are the people who are the registered collectors. And because that makes a better sense that whatever things you are disposing, that is in the safe hands. I know it's a challenge for the recyclers also. They said we pay very little money to these raw pickers already, because they also look forward to have their own system running, whatever mode they need to resort sort of. Unofficially, probably I would say that. But certainly they would be giving very little money to the people comparative to even some other stakeholders all around who are giving, you forget about the environment, in whatever way you can collect things, hand it over to us, we'll take care of it in whatever way. So it's a big challenge, but I think as a state, I would like that the system has to be in place, that the people who are responsible for initial collections of these things, they are the registered one. It is not required to be given to these kabadi wallahs and all that who are informal collectors, because giving them in whatever way I think we need to give, people are to understand, is individual is to understand it. Handing over to these e-waste, it is not going to give them much money. It's only the point of taking care of the environment also. That is what I told, that as a feedback now I got from the individuals also, that we handed over all our what are the e-waste to the registered one. Earlier we thought we'll give it to some kabadi wala, he'll giving us the good money out of it. But now we understand there's a difference of money and the environment. So that point, I think we need to plug, and we need to ensure it. These people are properly registered. They are properly made aware of how things are moving. Earlier in the government setups also, when there was lack of awareness, by way of this is already I said, auctioning was done in a traditional way. Whosoever giving the maximum price for that, you are handing over to them. Now I think the government institutions also, they're well aware of it. Whatever they need to dispose of by way of auctioning, it has to be to the registered recyclers. So I think we have, this is what I told you, two registered recyclers also. We need to support them. We have to ensure them they are working to their capacities. Once they work to their capacity, then we can look forward to have more and more such chains all around. And probably, I think I find this the big challenge as a policy point of view, that how I can ensure that government institution to come forward to have a formal disposal of the waste, individual to come forward to have a formal disposal of the waste, and MCs also to really look around for door-to-door, like solid waste collection sort of, door-to-door collections of this awareness campaign. This is what we plan to take it up and very shortly, that we are going to tell individuals like this in a door-to-door campaign. We're working on it. Just kindly hand over to this safe hands so that it goes to a safe place. That is what I think the challenge I'm going to have,
Yeah.
putting policy support for ensuring it's really collecting formally, and this is handed over formally to the right place. Yeah.
I would just like
Thank
to
you.
add.
Thank you, Mr. Anil. Actually, you actually helped me take up the next question also. You actually mentioned about the policy support that is by you in the state of Himachal. Mr. Wanshan, if you could just quickly help us understand what kind of policy support would you need to enhance the grassroots collection systems, if let us know. Yeah.
See, the policy there has, like what Mr. Anil has said, we need to integrate with the solid waste management aspect. Uh, in my district over here, we are piloting actually the concept of resource recovery centers. Okay, see, these resource recovery centers are basically we are creating. It'll be a community driven, where your household waste, your wet waste and dry waste, will be basically the primary segregation will happen at home. Then the final segregation will happen at a resource recovery center. So that is where the value addition of the waste comes into the picture. And then we are looking at the option of actually e-waste being handed over to them. And that is where we tie up with the PRO, like for example, Karo, Sambhav, and we have one or two entities over here, that they go and pick up directly from these resource recovery centers. So this is integration that we are planning to do on a pilot basis. And if you find the response is good, then we will put up in a formal kind of a presentation to Central Police Control Board to make sure that this integration takes place. Because the household collection is being done anyway. So because we have to
Agreed.
look at, are we approaching towards waste management from the subjective point of view or from the objective point of view? If we are going to a subjective point of view, okay, I'm following what the rules say, so I'm going by it. But if you look at the objective aspect, then I think so we will be seeing more success.
100% agree with you there, and we are really looking forward to seeing how we could together solve this challenge. So happy to be of support, and thank you so much. I'd like to shift the conversations from the regulatory part to something behavior aspect. And Professor C.D. Mitra, my next question comes to you on. I think we all have seen the recent, most of us might have seen the recent advertisement by Apple, which was popularly known as Mother Nature. And it featured both and Tim Cook. And it provided detailed insights. I mean, it was a very bold move where they provided detailed the climate commitments that they are making. And this was strategically right before the launch Team Pro Max, right? This was in September. So I would really love for you to elaborate on these sustainability focused initiatives impact consumer perspectives and influence their purchasing decisions. And do you see this as a growing trend among the tech companies? Over to you. If you could also share some examples. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to look at Shriya and her expression because I'm sure it's a competitor to her. So, well, I think I'm glad about three things. One is it's an interesting piece of communication, right? And it's good for a company of the size and stature of Apple to come ahead and make a public commitment and state what they're doing and how they are, in some senses, preponing some of their commitments. Also, being Apple, it kind of influences and shapes people's opinions. It's a very desirable, cool brand. So I think directly and indirectly, apart from helping shift the conversation towards environment and apart from the other factors that draws people to Apple, I think the fact that they're bolstering their environmental credentials also shift the conversation and makes environmental credentials about brands more desirable and cool. Because a brand that is desirable and cool, if it makes the conversation about environment part of the conversation, I think that's adds to the desirability of that. And I think that all of these is a good move. So I appreciate. I also honestly think that most companies see it's a moving goalpost. All companies are pushing hard, some harder, some of course at the other extreme greenwashing. We'll not name them, but a lot of companies are pushing hard to kind of keep improving their environmental credentials. And honestly, Apple used to be a company which used to be very, very cool for many other reasons, their technology, their design, but they were not necessarily so well known for their environmental credentials. In fact, they faced criticism. There was a time that the US government didn't allow their employees to buy Apple product because they wouldn't want it to be disassembled. From the time of that to, I just read a few days back, Apple is actually supporting the right to repair movement, which is great, right? So all of these are, at one level they are being pushed because of the growing concern about environment and all of that. On the other hand, when they take public stances like what they've just done in the communication that you just mentioned, in a way that pushes the conversation. So all that is good. There have been many companies who have been accused, and perhaps rightly so, for not being as environmentally conscious. I mean, it includes brands like Coke, Pepsi, Apple too. And if those kind of brands are actually doing more, and I'm assuming if they're making a public stance, which stands to scrutiny, they are, and also adding to the conversation, it's a welcome move. However, I'm sure more can be done. I mean, this was one piece which came out, as you rightly said, tactically at the right time. And I saw the ad and it talked about 100% recycled aluminium and stuff like that. But I've been noticing their ads for, their new Pro Max ads, and they're talking about titanium and doesn't say whether it's virgin or whether it's recycled or whatever. So I do understand from a marketing perspective, you would cater to different audiences. Some care more about environmental issues and you want to please them. Some care more about other factors and you want to keep them happy. But I do think it's a good move. I just wish they did more and they did it earlier. But better late than never. And when a large company like Apple does it, honestly, it's a good thing. It also pushes everybody else to, raise the bar. So that's really my take.
Absolutely. And I do resonate with you on the fact look like they are competitors, but even pushing each other on the boundaries of environmental sustainability is healthy. It's healthy for the environment and healthy for this whole consumption market. So on that note, I think this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much to all our panelists for making time and coming here. Thank you, Mr. Anil, thank you, Mr. Wanshan, thank you, Shriya, thank you, Professor Chandradeep. I am really happy that you all can make time. There were a lot of technical glitches, but in the interest of time, we would not be taking any Q&A right now because we have almost reached the end of it. And if at all any of our listeners have questions, please do write to us and we will ensure that we are sending it out to each of our speakers. All right. And thank you, Professor Varsha, as well as us. And we hope to have more such conversations in the coming months. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Nice.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.